It's wine time, and by wine I mean the beverage, not wine like complain, but we may wine here. Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Dormish. I am your host for episode 574 of Beyond, IGN's weekly PlayStation show, where we also talk about wine sometimes. I am joined this week by Max Scoville.
Bonjour.
Hello, sir. And Lucy O'Brien.
Bonjour, no.
Ooh, this is exciting. This is a very unique episode introduction. Of course, we have a lot more to talk about than hellos this week on Beyond. We're going to take a look ahead at the PS4 software we know is coming out in 2019, as well as some of the biggest titles that we don't know exactly when they're coming out. We're also going to talk a little bit about Kingdom Hearts 3, yes, again, because I saw some gameplay you haven't seen yet, and I'm going to tell you what I thought about it.
Was that on purpose, or did somebody leak it to you?
No, this was on purpose.
Wow.
Yeah, this was not an accidental leak. Don't worry. I don't know what has been
spectacle
spoiled.
in this year of our Lord 2019.
A legitimate thing, not a leak. We're also going to do a mystery segment that I don't even know about.
It's going to be a real hoot.
I'm
Well,
excited.
I don't know about it either.
You don't know
I
either?
forgot to tell anybody else about it, so it's really my secret surprise.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that. We also have a trophy test on the way. But before we begin, if you are watching this before Thursday morning, that would be Thursday the 17th. Be sure to tune in to IGN at 10:30 a.m. Pacific on January 17th. That's also 1:30 p.m. Eastern, as well as 6:30 p.m. in the UK. That's Friday, January 18th at 5:30 a.m. in Australia. So good luck if you're up then. We are going to be broadcasting the reveal of Mortal Kombat 11.
Kombat! Dun, 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 dun.
Max, you're going to be involved with that?
Yeah,
reveal
they're having me
event?
doing something about that. I think I'm going to be a little pre-show, recommending some things that people check out or whatever.
Awesome.
I think we're pretending it's live. I don't know if it's gonna be broadcast live. If it's fake live, I'm sorry.
It will be live in some form.
Ruined the imagery of cinema. The fourth wall has been shattered.
Oh no, whatever will we do?
It's gonna kick ass.
I'm really excited to see.
It's gonna be Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Scorpion's gonna be there.
I'm really bad at Mortal Kombat, but I love watching Mortal Kombat when it's played well and just seeing all the awesome reveals.
And I love watching everyone get very excited about
Yes.
Mortal Kombat.
I like talking about it because
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you talk about it for just long enough and you sound like a third grader and it's
Yeah.
great.
Well, we did recommend a few characters who you think should be in the game
Yeah.
a few weeks ago. So yeah, if that's any indication, I'm excited for what actually will be in Mortal Kombat 11.
Mortal Kombat. You got to say it like that.
I don't have enough energy yet, but we will have plenty more to talk about in 2019 games. Mortal Kombat 11, of course, is coming out this year. But in addition to that, I thought we could talk a little bit about, continuing from the conversation last week, about PS4 hardware and the PS5 question mark of it all, looking ahead to the games we know are also coming out from PlayStation, specifically the first-party exclusives. So first, I want to touch on the fact of the games that we don't have release dates for, specifically The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima. Obviously, Sony has been broadcasting these as major marquee tentpole titles of the PlayStation 4 for at least a couple years now, in the case of a few of these games. But we don't know when they are coming out. We could think possibly toward the end of 2019 or 2020. And I do want to talk about when you both think we'll see these games. But first of all, I want to talk about just your general excitement for these three games. Which are you most excited for? Which are you kind of maybe on the fence about? What are you hoping to see more of?
Okay, I'll go first because I know what Max is going to say. I am equally excited for Last of Us and Death Stranding. I'm less excited for Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm still very excited for it. I think that The Last of Us Part 2 is... The Last of Us was one of those games that really surprised me because it was a very brave game in many ways. Like, the story was incredibly... brave. At sort of face value, it kind of looked like something that we'd seen before, this kind of grizzled dude with the, daughter figure. Mm-hmm. But then there was that ending, and I'm sorry to, if anyone hasn't played it, but that ending was like just such a bold move. And so I really didn't anticipate it.
Those video games growing up.
Yeah.
Like that was one of those first M-rated games that felt legitimately mature and like it wasn't. Obviously, it had critters running around that you had to shoot in the head with a gun, a la many other video games. But it also had like these touching human moments. And we've talked about The Last of Us ad nauseum, but I'm really curious to see how they follow that up.
Yeah, and I do feel they really know who Ellie is. I felt like she was a very like fully formed character in both Last of Us and Left Behind, and I'm excited to continue that journey with her. I love Joel, obviously, but like Ellie, for me, I want to see where they take that character because she's so young.
Yes,
there's so many places you could take her. So yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 is I'm massively excited for. Death Stranding, I mean, I still think is a crazy fever dream.
Who the hell knows what that's about? I literally had fever dreams about it. I don't know when the hell that's going to come out. Last of Us, I think, is interesting because it has such a high expectation riding behind it. You know, people obviously they love the first one, and for there to be a follow-up to that is sort of like, ooh, where do you go with this? I'm in a weird way, and I'm sure somebody's going to get mad about this, I'm kind of dreading it because I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a comfortable game to play. I think it's going to be just vicious. I think it's going to be a painful game to experience
because of the violence level.
I agree with you, but I think that what they did so well in the last game is they got like a really nice cadence going, where especially with Ellie, like she's got a really great sense of humor and she's really cheeky and she brings a sort of lightness to counteract that. And I'm hoping that we see that in the second one.
I think they're gonna turn Ellie into a Joel. I think they're gonna turn her into a monster, and I think it's gonna be heartbreaking.
Right.
That doesn't sound fun. You know, that sounds like some emotional work. So I'm really excited to play Norman Reedus, the mummy delivery man, across the big barren wastelands of Iceland or wherever the hell it is, and avoid the ghosts. Ghost of Tsushima, speaking of ghosts.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this before the show started. I'm really, really fussy about feudal Japanese stuff. I think it's because in high school, basically mainlined Rurouni Kenshin and Inuyasha back to back and was watching like 2 episodes of each of those every day. And then one day I woke up and I was like, yeah, I don't like samurai stuff. I don't like it. And I'm really kind of like fussy about like if it's too stylized, if it sort of tries too hard, or if it looks even remotely. I mean, I'm not even a history buff enough to call it, but if it looks just too gaudy, I'm not into it. But I feel like this is walking a really fine line and is totally tapping into like the Kurosawa stuff that grabs me. And I really want this to be playable in black and white. I just want
that would be amazing.
Black and white and red.
No red, just black and white.
Black and
just
white?
plain old black and white. I think it would be great. Maybe if the title screens are in red, that would be cool. But even so, the colors in this are great. And I'm also sort of, I'm like, how much HUD is there going to be? How much UI is there going to be to sort of remind you that you're playing a modern video game? Because this is so gorgeous to look at. Yeah, I'm excited about this.
The demo we've seen of Ghost of Tsushima, which is really the only look that we've had at it from E3 last year, is very much, it's stripped down. It feels like it's intending to be like, this could be a cinematic experience you're watching, but it is clearly being played. I do wonder where the gaminess of it will come in and if that will be dissonant with the actual world and the style they're going
I bet you're going to have to like collect scrolls, and also there will be shrines to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that I remember so vividly from that particular demo at E3 was how the blood would stick to the clothes and how it would sort of fan out into these patterns. And that really grabbed me. I mean, that kind of like, I am a sucker for that kind of beautiful stylized violence. I'm excited for it. Again, it's nowhere near as a hype level as the first two, but
sure, yeah,
it's intriguing.
We definitely haven't seen as much of it too, which is why I'm excited to see more, because I don't know. I'm really curious to see the Sucker Punch DNA come out in this, or how their DNA has evolved with this game, because to me, I think of them so much more in gamier environments with so much going on, and there's so many mechanics at play there. But obviously with this, there's a lot more openness to it, and I'm wondering how they've adapted to that sort of style of play. They also did talk a little bit about, I think at E3, when you see an assassination later on in the demo, that they are approaching it as you could have gone in many different ways. So I'm curious how that openness will apply to the whole world.
That's what they always say.
It is.
It's kind of been handled one of many ways.
It's always like Hitman, but every other game is trying to do that too. I wanted to take a look back, at least from the last times we've seen each of these games, just to get a sense of where they are in development. I know that as recently as sort of around the new year, some of the Naughty Dog team has been tweeting that they are hiring quite a bit for development of The Last of Us Part 2. So obviously they are sort of all in deep on the development of this game. Do you think that indicates we're probably not going to see it in 2019? Do you think this is beyond this year?
I thought, this is what I said in last week's episode, I think it's going to be a launch title for the PlayStation 5. I think it's going to straddle the line. It'll come out on PS4 and PS5.
You think it'll come out on both?
I think it will. I mean, I think it could. I don't want to, I'm not going to say it will, because I'll sound like a total idiot. But I think it could. I think it would be an amazing launch title for that system. So yeah, I don't expect to see it this year.
And then with Death Stranding, obviously we've seen, more so than the game itself in the last few months, we've seen Kojima traveling a lot. That has been sort of like we've seen a lot of people go to Kojima Productions as well as him traveling a lot. Most recently, I think the day we're recording, he traveled to Guerrilla Games because they gave Kojima Productions the Decima engine to work with a few years ago, and then he came back as sort of like a full circle thing to show them the game and what they've been working with their engine, which I thought was a really sweet sort of.
That's so cool. That's such, I don't know, that it's neat to see this much sort of collaboration on a AAA level. We had that thing at PSX last, whenever that was, where all of the sort of the creative directors for all the different Sony studios were all sitting on couches together and just sort of talking about like, where's your game? Is it coming along? How's that going? And that's awesome. I feel like there's, obviously, competition drives innovation to a certain degree, but at the same time, like, I don't know, maybe, people sort of looking over each other's shoulders and being like, oh, hadn't thought about doing that. And the fact that that Kojima was like, oh, can I use your engine? And he's like, yeah, here you go. It's on a floppy drive. Here's the source code. Like, that's insane. It's great. God, I really hope we see Death Stranding this year.
Do you think we will?
I have a good feeling about it.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Because I need it. I need that. I need that for my own well-being. Like, I just need to have something to look forward to. I don't know. I think that we've definitely seen Sony kind of rein in their sort of promotion on stuff. Like, we got God of War and Spider-Man finally. Like, I think they're good at being like, let's not get people sick of this thing before it's out.
Yeah.
And I think that having seen sort of this bare bones demonstration of Death Stranding in action, at E3 last year, and everyone's still like, okay, I actually know less about what you're supposed to do in the game. Or what are you doing there? I think that's sort of that like last bit before they're like, okay, here's what you're going to be doing, and then the game is out later. I think that we're very close to a release announcement window.
Do you think with that game too, because obviously we did see some gameplay to a certain extent, but do you think I know they've talked a bit about in the past the sort of like online or multiplayer-esque component to it, to a certain extent, of like it will have this online experience to it?
The strings.
Yeah, they've been sort of very
tied together with.
Yeah, I think that Norman Reedus' character is going to have, his name is Porter. He's going to have a smart device of some kind. He's going to pull it out in the game, and you're going to look at it, and it's going to be the Death Stranding subreddit. And you're going to read Death Stranding theories from within the game.
What was the movie? Was it Pulp Fiction, the movie where you never see inside the suitcase?
Yeah.
That's how I feel like Death Stranding is. Like, a whole bunch of people look inside it, and their lives are sort of like changed forever. But I still feel like I can't actually conceptualize playing it myself.
Comprehend what it's going to be.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I imagine Kojima just goes around these studios with the suitcase and opens it up, and like people's eyes just go whoop.
The photo of him going to Gorilla is really funny because it is just a whole group of people around a couch looking off camera at, I assume, a screen, but maybe it's just Kojima acting it out.
How many of them look like they're having fun there? They all look kind of...
They all look fascinated. Yeah, they're all maybe a little confused.
I can't help but feel like there's a certain amount of... And I love Kojima's work dearly, and I'm also really excited to see what the hell this is, and I have faith that it will be interesting. I don't know if it'll be directly fun, but I think it will be a thing that does some cool stuff. But I think there is definitely some Emperor's New Clothes factor going on here, where people are like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to say a bad thing. Like, is there something wrong with me if I don't get it? Like,
I have felt that way because like I am interested and I love watching the short films that have come out for this game as the trailers. But at the end of the day, I don't know where to even begin thinking about the game.
Well, also because it's like everything that we've seen so far of Death Stranding is Norman Reedus with giant things on his back walking really slowly. And to me, I'm like, just what I've always wanted to do.
It's the gritty reboot that Katamari really needed.
He's just rolling everything up in his backpack.
Yeah, and who doesn't love ripping off toenails?
Oh,
can we cut away from
this
Ronnie, cut.
Ronnie!
Every time.
You cut away from us.
Every time.
I had to do that. I had to do that in 7th grade. I was moving a bedside table, and the drawer fell out and landed squarely on my foot. And, no.
I'm not good with nails.
Nobody is. Yeah. Nobody's good with ripping off nails.
I don't know anyone who's like, yeah, I do that for fun sometimes on the weekends. Yeah, just
that's the mafia.
Yeah, that's
true.
I don't want to know where that is.
And then with Ghost of Tsushima, the last update we really got about it was E3. That's pretty much all we've seen of that game.
Didn't they say that's a PS4 game?
I think everything that was being shown at that showcase, inclination was these are PS4 games, is I think how they were presented. But I did want to ask, obviously we touched a little bit about it on Last of Us. Do you both think all of these games will make or could make the PS4, PS5 jump, especially as we're nearing the presumed end of this launch cycle? Obviously they want to have stuff for the PS5.
I think easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Sony learned a valuable lesson about how much you can double dip between console generations, and obviously they were, PS3 it tightened things up at the tail end there, but for the most part, they were kind of playing second fiddle to 360, and there was the whole issue of like things were harder to develop for PS3, and the exclusives kicked ass, but then suddenly they were like, well, we had to switch our hardware back to stuff that's similar to what everyone else is doing. So I think that we're going to see both the PS5 and whatever the Xbox 2 is, or whatever they're calling it, Scarlet.
Anaconda.
I think it's gonna be very similar to what sort of the status quo is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've done enough sort of shifts between console generations that people are like, porting stuff sucks. Let's just make it easy on ourselves. Let's drag and drop as much as possible.
Save as .ps5 instead of .ps4.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're going to be like, let's go back to the cell processor. That would be a smart move.
I don't know what they would like, what kind of bells and whistles they're going to add. I imagine it'll be some more graphical power, but like the leap between a PS5 and PS4 Pro and a PS5, I don't know how big of a jump that's going to be.
Yeah, necessarily compared to other generations.
I feel like they're going to be like, well, there will only be sad endings for PS4 games, but PS5 will also have optional happy endings.
Oh, that would be sweet. You have to spend $500 to get a good ending.
Yeah, the last boss of the Last of Us Part 2 is a dog, and spoilers, but you can only kill it on PS4.
Oh no!
But on PS5, you have the option to let it live.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now I have to get a PS5 just to see that dog live.
It's rough.
God damn it.
God. Everyone's actually mad about that spoiler. I made that up just to clarify.
But they have had a dog on the set, and that dog is very adorable. Doing mocap, which I love. So out of curiosity, if we had to generally put, if these are all going to be PlayStation 4 releases, at least initially, if you had to guess when they're all three coming out, when would you? I'm going to start with Last of Us Part 2. What, like, time of year? Give me like a season or a month even.
I think June 2020.
Okay. Lucy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, again, if I'm going with this whole, it's a launch title, that kind of, if the PS5 was coming out like at the end of next year, like holiday season, which I think is possibly the more accurate guess, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, yeah. Last of Us, the original, came out like 2 weeks after E3 when it first debuted on the PS3. It was a late June release, so
okay.
I wouldn't be shocked if they also tried to do a sort of summer release for this one.
All right, well, scrap my launch title thing.
Well, I'll say
I love in the summertime when I'm having a nice barbecue is going inside and staring at a dark screen where I'm killing someone with a bottle.
It's a joyous July 4th celebration.
I love that's a very good game, but good God, it's sad. It's a sad time.
Oh yeah, and I imagine based on the trailers, Part 2 is going to be even sadder.
Yeah.
Then for Death Stranding, when do we think? Because Max, you want it to come this year. Do you think it reasonably could? Because after April is pretty much an unknown for PS4 right now.
I could see that coming out this summer or this fall. Like I don't know. I don't know when they're going to announce it because there's no Sony at E3. I could see it. I don't know. I feel like with Sony first party stuff, they have the tendency to be like, hey, this is coming out in the summer when there's no competition. Like, let's just get this out there. Like they kind of do what they want. And I don't know. It could also be like next winter, like this time. I feel like it's not going to be your typical holiday release. I think we're kind of just past that point where that makes any sense for anybody.
Yeah.
It's also Death Stranding. Like, it's weird. It's not like a holiday game. It's like, it's not I think you could see it in a really bizarre window. I'm kind of inclined to agree, like the beginning of the year.
I think a January or February release could be amazing for it.
2020.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And then what about Ghosts, especially since that feels like the one we know the least about?
I think we could see that this year.
Think so?
You think so?
Yeah.
Huh. I was thinking I think that's the
furthest out.
I don't know.
It's a weird one because Sucker Punch, essentially since infamous First Light, or Last, is it First Light or Last Light? I think it's First Light.
First Light.
Because Second Son,
Last Light is
First
Metro.
Yes, there we go. That was the last thing they essentially. They all use the same 10 words. Essentially, that was the last thing they published And so since then, which was 2014, I want to say maybe 2013,
Yeah.
it's been pretty quiet on their front. So it could be this year. That's the weird thing. All these games could come out in July if they wanted. And
They're all broken as hell.
exactly.
Yeah.
Not ready to
They all
go.
need
There's no-
heavy patches.
Yeah, there's no textures. It's just a wreck. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know when that one
I
will
don't
come
I
out.
don't know. I feel like I'm torn. I think that Last of Us is almost the furthest away, I want to say, but then I don't know. Ghost of Tsushima is so like freshly announced that I'm like, oh, maybe that is. And that also, I don't know. I think that like Last of Us is sort of like, it looks graphically very impressive, but like it's also, I don't know, we've kind of seen it doing stuff like that. We've seen games.
It's a known
like that.
quantity.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas Ghost of Tsushima looks like just like, oh, that's kind of a Red Dead you got there. Like that's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see when all three of those come out. Yeah, especially based on how quiet they've been. Sony really took with God of War and Spider-Man. The God of War release date was a random PlayStation blog post. Spider-Man's release date came alongside a Game Informer cover story. Like, they're not beholden release date-wise to E3 and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get just a post tomorrow after the show records, probably, announcing all three game releases. That said, we do still know quite a bit about what Sony first party wise does have coming out this year, and I did want to gauge how you both are feeling about what we do know about. So specifically, Days Gone is, I think, the biggest first party known quantity game. As we come into the year that Days Gone is finally releasing, we've seen some delays from it. We've seen its E3 reveals and everything. It's going to be at PAX South this month, so we'll probably get another trailer or two, I would assume, soon. But how do you both feel about going into now a couple months before this game comes out?
Well, I mean, I'm a sucker for a horror game. I mean, I'm not sure whether just because a game has zombies in it, it necessarily makes for a horror game, but this is all about survival and keeping alive. And, you know, I kind of like that as a concept. I am very wary of all the delays. It's hard not to be. And I still don't really, I don't think I've seen as much as other people have, because a lot of people in this office are kind of down on this game. And I'm like, I still have hope for it. I still love the idea of that moving horde of zombie kind of
Freakers.
Is that what they're called?
I think they're called freakers.
Oh,
Really, that part is the thing that really just
that really bothers me. I mean, I'm still keen to give this a go. Like, I still have hope for it. I'm not ready to write it off just yet, but obviously the delays aren't great.
I'm hoping that my sort of lowered expectations and sort of hype fatigue will work in this game's favor. Like I'd be kind of like, I don't know, if we get copies and I'm just like, I casually check it out, or if everyone is sort of like, yeah, it's fine, and then I'm just like, oh, I'll give it a spin, and then I completely get sucked into it.
Yeah.
That's always a wonderful experience when you have that, where you just, it's not your most anticipated game and you don't come crashing down with disappointment. So but that said, yeah, it's a zombie game that they don't want to call it zombies, and we've had a lot of big old open world games. So, it's like Red Dead, but you have to take care of a motorcycle instead of a horse. Who knows?
It's a bike carrying simulator. Yeah,
It's it's one of those games where I feel like it should have already come out and just been mediocre and come out before God of War and Spider-Man and Red Dead Redemption 2 and just been like, okay, it's done, instead of like all these delays, and now, our expectations for especially Sony exclusives are so high. I can imagine a huge amount of pressure on that game to kind of scrabble some quality.
Also, this is going to be coming on the tail of Resident Evil 2.
Yes,
which
exactly.
Is like people are obviously pretty hype on, and that's like a they don't, I don't know if they call them zombies in that, but they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about that one. For me personally, I'm coming at it with measured expectation, but I want to see what it does differently with open world games, because obviously they have been working on this one for a while, and in a post Red Dead world and a post Resident Evil world when it comes to zombie games, like, I'm curious to see how it can make a name for itself, and I hope that it can, because there's a lot of stuff in there that I've seen that I do like. Moving on from that one, we also know Concrete Genie is also supposed to come out this spring.
A game I completely forgot about.
Sony's been relatively quiet on this one. I kind of dig what it's going for in terms of essentially you're in this city, you're recollecting your notebook scattered pages that are stolen by like a bully or something. You find this magic paintbrush, and basically what you paint as the player comes to life in the world.
It's a gritty urban Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, I love this conceptually. I love the idea of just more games that are geared towards kids that are non-violent. I mean, this isn't a game that I think I will play, but I like that it exists. But yeah, it's certainly it's very under the radar right now.
Yeah, it's something that we've seen at PSX, and they had a demo at E3. But it's one of those things where I'm excited to see like what people draw using the tools in this game in the same way people did cool things with Little Big Planet, or as they're doing now with Dreams. Obviously, it's a more limited scope, but there's a charm to the artistic nature that I'm kind of interested in seeing play out, especially with this dark world that they're presenting.
Yeah, I'm completely like whatever about this.
Yeah,
I don't know. It looks like Lucy said. I'm glad it exists. I'm not. I don't hate it, but I'm just not interested. You know?
Sure. Well, when I give it a 10 out of 10, you'll be interested.
Yeah. I mean, that's not good. If it winds up being this total like blows everyone away, you've got to play this kind of game. Then yeah, I'll totally check it out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. My hope is that it is a like measured 10 to 12 hour experience at most. Like it is not a 30-hour sort of exploration thing. But we'll see how it turns out. Also on the first party side, we also know Medieval is coming out this year. That is their latest remake sort of endeavor. They've just given it a 2019 sort of vague date, so we'll see. I assume Halloween.
It'll be nice. It'll be a spooky game.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
With no Crash or Spyro on the horizon, I'm cool to have another like fun throwback platformer sort of.
We got a Crash on the horizon.
We do. It's a racing game. It's a little different. CTR, is there another Crash? Are you announcing another Crash?
Oh man, CTR with the little cars.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
You fake fan.
What? I like CTR. I want a new full Crash game.
All right, yeah, me too. I want the photorealistic one that's about an actual Bandicoot.
It's just a JPEG of a Bandicoot running around the world.
It wears doll's pants and it has to navigate a completely accurate environment.
Oh, I don't want that. At least something.
Oh my god, the doll's pants is what kills me.
I want that shit running in the Decimate. I want like I don't know what bandicoots actually do.
I don't even know what a bandicoot looks like.
I think they're from where you're from.
Yeah,
but you should know this.
Other side of the earth.
Something, Max, I assume you're actually looking forward to. Judgment. This isn't on the first party side, but a PS4 exclusive that's coming out sometime this year.
Yes. So anyone who's not paying attention, Judgment it was called Project Judge or Judge Eyes in Japan. This is made by the Yakuza team. This is technically sort of a Yakuza spinoff. It is set in the same city, but it's a brand new story, brand new characters, totally a new place to jump in. And it's also, as opposed to being a game about being a gangster, you are a private eye who solves mysteries while wearing a leather jacket. It seems like this is really Sega's push to kind of establish this like a new IP stateside. This game is going to be fully dubbed. It's got like Tim Rogers over at Kotaku did like a great Let's Play. He's fluent in Japanese, so he just got the Japanese version and he's been playing it. And Tim's a very weird dude, so it's kind of kind of a tedious Let's Play at parts. But he'll stop to sort of talk about street signs and stuff like that and make fun of a guy's backpack. But he does know his stuff, and he kind of breaks down like what this game is doing. I'm so excited to play this. I actually just finished Kiwami 2, the newest Yakuza game. This is running in the same engine as that, which is the Dragon engine. They've got 2 games under their belt in that thing to really get the hang of like how to make it click. And I think that like, whereas Yakuza's got that same sort of Metal Gear problem of like, what's the good one to start with? How do I jump onto this massive sprawling saga?
But that's what I was asking, because I haven't actually played a Yakuza game before.
I would say hold out for this.
Do you reckon hold out for this?
I think so. I think also like Yakuza's in a lot of ways it's kind of dated, and it's like it's got this sort of hyper masculine like gangster character, and it's rooted so heavily in like what the Yakuza do is a thing that you kind of have to like unpack a little bit, because they're sort of like they're not straight up just like criminals. They're like illegitimate businessmen. So it's like crime business sort of. I don't know. It's a whole other thing. But this is kind of like, hey, you're a detective. Go do detective stuff. So you're gonna kick some dudes' asses on the way, and it's like I'm pretty much going in cold to this because it's a brand new cast of characters, a brand new scenario, and I will continue to grind away with my Yakuza games. But like I'm really stoked for this, and I'm probably gonna be banging that drum pretty hard.
Yeah, I imagine we'll talk about it a bit with you on the show as we go forward. Other than that stuff, really the only thing that we know about nebulously is that there will be more PSVR games. We know everybody's golf VR is supposed to be on the way. We've seen games at like last E3. I saw Ghost Giant, which I thought was really cute. and like that one a lot. We've seen games like Blood and Truth, I believe it's called. So there are these nebulous PSVR titles out there that we don't know much about.
Blood and Truth is the London Heist guys, right?
Yeah.
That could be really cool.
That would be an awesome one. We haven't really seen a ton from it recently, I think, if I last recall, so it'd be nice to actually see that come out.
Do you think that, like, we got a bunch of sort of these early demos from the PSVR demo disc, and there was the first Astrobot adventure, and then there was the London Heist, which is being turned into Blood and Truth. Do you think we're going to see like a spin-off of every one of those little demos in PSVR? Like,
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Not if there's a shark game, because I hate the shark demo. It's scary.
This is you just want to advocate not for a shark.
Yeah, that was I posed my rhetorical question. No, thank you to sharks.
Please keep the sharks out of VR. I feel like yes, essentially, because like they put in the work to make those what are demos essentially, and so now that they got the hang of those, if they have a larger idea that they can create from that, I mean, I assume we're going to see an Astrobot 2, maybe not this year, but as soon as they can.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see, especially because that is such an unknown, but I think became very popular over the holiday with sales and everything. So that's a bit of an idea of what we're seeing in PS4 and PSVR land in 2019. How do you both feel overall about the slate of what we know is coming and what we hope could come?
I still feel there's just so much unknown.
Yeah.
And it's just such a strange time to be a PlayStation fan because they're not going to be at E3. And so it's just like, and you know, PSX was canned last year. Will we have a PSX this year? Are they going to announce a sort of existence of the PlayStation 5 and here's when to expect it this year? There's just a lot of question marks for this year. And again, like the fact that we are sort of making these like wild guesses as to when these big games are coming out.
I think that's a pretty good testament to where we're at in terms of what we know about this year right now. It's, you know, the middle of January and we're like, I sure can't wait to see more of that thing we saw. We don't know anything else, question mark.
Yeah.
What year do you think this will come out? What a thrilling topic of conversation, you know? But I don't know. I'm really excited for Judgment.
Yeah.
Really, really excited. And I hope that people get a chance to jump in there and check it out.
Yeah. I hope they also put it out at a smart time when there'll be breathing room for it to actually get exposure and everything, especially with the growing love for Yakuza as a series.
Yeah.
Hopefully they give that some time. Obviously, we will, when those questions have answers and we know when these games are coming out, we will talk about them on the show. But what we can talk about is a little game coming out later this month. You may have heard me talk about Kingdom Hearts 3.
And what is that?
Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh, where to begin?
More.
Oh, well, if you are watching this, we have Kingdom Hearts in 5 minutes now on the site where I somehow tried to summarize everything that happens in Kingdom Hearts in 5 minutes before Kingdom Hearts 3.
Jonathan, tell me how long it took you to get that together, to pull that together.
That whole project started, I think, January 2017. When capture began, when scripting began, when all these things started coming into place was January 2017, I think. And it finally published January 2019. So go watch that, please, because a lot of work from not just myself, but a lot of people on our video team went into that. So that was a lot of fun.
Very impressive.
It was very difficult, and obviously things were left out.
You know what?
So
I might spend 5 minutes and try to understand those games are.
You probably won't. You probably will still be confused, but that's fine. No, I did want to talk about, obviously, in the lead up, myself and a few members of our UK team were lucky enough to go to Square in Japan last December 2018, and we got to meet and talk with a lot of the team as well as see about another probably hour of gameplay from the game. It was hands-off. It was played by Tai Yasue, one of the co-directors of the game, and we saw the Pirates of the Caribbean level, the Frozen level, and the Tangled level, sort of more in detail. We stayed away more from story stuff, so people looking for story spoilers, I will not say anything story-wise, but we saw a lot more, and the thing that I just wanted to talk about that I came away with is how crazy this game seems to be and how many gameplay types it's trying to do. The Pirates level is basically like Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Like the sea parts?
The sea parts. So essentially you will get to pilot your own ship. Sora, Donald, and Goofy will get their own ship that you get to sort of upgrade as the world goes along. And you get to just sail it along these seas. There's ship-to-ship naval combat, which we've seen before. But you can just get off the ship at any point and explore a whole bunch of islands in the world. And every island has different enemies or different treasure to find, and you can go underwater to find caves underneath the islands.
And it's all Pirates of the Caribbean?
It's all Pirates of the Caribbean, yeah. So it's just this huge open, it was one of the worlds I was least interested in going into this demo, and it came away being the one I'm most fascinated to actually explore because it feels like it's so vast and so open, they could hide a lot in there. I'm curious to see what actually pirates stuff is involved, but like they have these battles. My favorite thing was there's this move with Goofy where you team up with Goofy and you send him launching into the air, and essentially he comes down and hits an enemy.
Would you say it's a goofy move or an extremely goofy move?
It's an extremely goofy move.
Well done. I couldn't even remember the sequel to that movie. That's great.
I love those movies. And essentially, instead of just bopping a guy in the head, the Heartless in this world, the enemy is a giant sand creature.
Right.
And Goofy basically gets swallowed by it as a result of this move, and then comes busting out through the middle of it and like attacks it with its. It's amazing. It is so weird and bizarre, and
this odd thing just struck me. What if I play this game? Like, what if I?
I really want to see.
You are going to play it. I'm going to make sure that you play it.
And now I don't want to play it anymore. I was like skeptically curious about it. I don't know. No, it looks like mechanically just fascinating. Like everything I've seen of it, I'm like, this is. I mean, it. Rest in peace. Reminds me of Disney Infinity.
Yeah, there's so much going on with it, and there are all these different things, and each world has its own hook to it. And so when they brought us to the Frozen world, the big hook there is they have essentially like downhill sledding, which Joe Scrubbles from our UK team and I joked is basically the closest you'll get to esports for Kingdom Hearts, because it has like score tracking and it keeps track of how well you're doing, so you could theoretically compete with friends in it. But essentially a large part of the world is you avoiding Heartless while you're sledding down and doing tricks on Goofy's shield as a sled, essentially.
So, okay, I know you didn't see story stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, did each world feel very tonally in step with the movies that they're representing?
Yeah, so a big part of our trip there was...
Yeah, aside from those anime characters walking around in there.
Yeah.
Well, actually, on that note, so what was really interesting was talking to the team. It was very clear there were different ways they sort of talked to each movie's team directly about their world. So, like, for example, with the Frozen world that we saw this giant boss battle. I don't know if it was a midway boss or end boss, but you're fighting this what looks like a Norse, like Icelandic giant wolf that's made of ice. And he's this crazy monster thing, but they actually consulted the Frozen team about that monster and all the other Heartless enemies in the world because they wanted it to be in step with creations that could exist in Frozen. So their art design and everything was actually done in step with them.
And is the music
I mean,
film appropriate?
Yeah, they definitely pull everything from, in terms of looks of the characters and everything. They got some assets the way we were talking to them. They would get like character models and things, but they essentially had to animate them themselves because they were given, you know, base character models that were not being used originally to animate like in a game way. So they did a lot of work themselves to recreate perfectly. And there was a lot of discussions with Disney itself, the teams from the movies, as well as especially with Pixar. They said what was interesting was Pixar wanted to check on things a lot earlier on. Like they would check out things in some of the storyboarding sections of it, whereas Disney would come in a little later on it just to make sure everything was well polished and true to the spirit of the movies.
Right.
So something with like Monsters, Inc., they're showing them it before they've animated anything. And it was really interesting to see the juxtaposition of those things.
Did Johnny Depp's estate like chime in on any of that?
Not that we were told about.
His handlers?
I don't know if he has handlers anymore. But it was really cool. They were showing us the character models from the Pirates world, and the Donald one is so realistic because all the characters in that one are essentially photorealistic from the movie. So they also did some work to make Donald kind of photorealistic.
He's got like feathers.
He's got feathers and like hair. It's like probably
weird.
It's probably the most
like your Crash Bandicoot wearing doll's pants come to life.
Yeah,
pretty excited right there. That's gonna be good. I always wanted a very realistic Donald Duck.
This is probably the most realistic Donald Duck that has ever been put to film.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's going to be interesting to see play out. But yeah, the Frozen world, they showed us a lot of the big scope of the battles. And then the Tangled world was more about how you essentially have Rapunzel and Flynn Rider on your team. They're playing with you a lot of the time. But as you're going along, these characters kind of exist in their own world. And Rapunzel, true to the movie, like just wants to see everything and is excited about stuff. So you'll be exploring a world and she'll just like leave and go off to explore like, oh, this giant waterfall. That's so crazy. And you can go over and interact and it like triggers a little cutscene. But essentially it like brings her and Sora closer together to make the battles better, I think was the inclination.
You know what they should get in there?
Yeah.
Bolt. That movie
Bolt?
where Miley Cyrus is a dog.
Isn't John Travolta in that movie too?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. I don't think they're going
Isn't
to
John
Bolt.
Travolta Bolt?
Is he titular
No, he's
Bolt?
Miley Cyrus is the dog, I think. I saw it once.
Bolt was a boy.
I saw it like
I
6
thought so
years
too.
ago.
I've never seen it.
Miley Cyrus could voice a boy. It's a fake dog. Who cares? Anyway, I'm
Yeah,
sorry
they don't
for
have.
interrupting.
No, you're fine. They don't have Bolt. But yeah, we essentially saw.
I mean, it is the obvious world.
Yes.
It's such an obvious world.
If there-
Everyone knows the Bolt world.
The Bolt cinematic universe is really popping off these days. Yeah, they did not have Bolt, but we saw. That's what I'm going to say every episode now. But they didn't have Bolt. But they showed us sort of the scope of the gameplay and everything. And I, like, as a fan, I went into it excited, but like I had played the game and I was sort of expecting just to see more. And I was so satisfied by seeing, especially someone who's had time with the game, be able to make all the disparate gameplay mechanics work together and really show there's a spectacle to the combat in this game. And I'm excited to see that play out through all these worlds.
Now, how long have you been waiting for this? It's like, what, 13 years or something?
I think Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in the US in 06, 05 or 06.
I was at university, so yes.
I was in 8th grade, I think.
So that's
Right.
about since 8th grade.
Yeah, since 8th grade. I've basically
that's-
been waiting for this game.
That's a pretty long time to wait.
My entire life, basically. Like
Yeah.
my adult life and my,
How are your expectations doing?
Weird?
Do you have any reservations about this?
Yes and no. So it's that thing of like, obviously there have been side games that came out in between 2 and now 3, and a lot of them some of them were really good, some were totally forgettable, and I never want to need to play again, Recoded.
Is that the one where Jiminy Cricket's phone gets a virus?
Basically, yeah. His journal becomes a digitized virus machine, and it really serves no
Learned
purpose.
so much about
True
the
to the
series.
spirit of Pinocchio.
Yeah.
The Spirit of Pinocchio is the name of my yacht. I'm just kidding. I was lying. I don't have a yacht.
Oh, God.
That's why it's called The Spirit of Pinocchio. Liar.
That was a really good full circle joke. No, for me, it's weird because I am very excited, but I know that this game could easily not satisfy those expectations. Like, I was at a very different point in my life when Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 came out, and they very much hit me on a level of, I was a kid growing up, and it was Disney, the thing that I grew up with, but also Final Fantasy, which was a little more edgy, coming together and giving me this experience that met in the middle, and I loved it for that. And then as I got later in life, and, like, friends became such an important concept in my life as my family, this game personified that, again, with crazy body swapping and digitization of journals and all that crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, it was this game about that. But having had so much time from when I was introduced to it, I'm excited, but I also want to see how it exists in relation to all these other amazing games that have come out since then.
Yeah.
There are so many other incredible third-person action games and RPGs and JRPGs that I've played since then, and I'm very curious to see how this reacts to
It
them.
definitely doesn't look like they've been like too close to it to like. It's always really sad when something comes out and it's like, oh, you didn't look up from your paper to look around and see what else is happening. Like, it seems like they're definitely like, pushing this further and really and iterating and trying to make it grow as a
They're adding,
game, yeah.
They're adding so much on a gameplay level. I think it's the story level that will be the really curious thing for me, because don't get me wrong, as much as this is the culmination of Kingdom Hearts up until now, I don't think this is the end of Kingdom Hearts. I think they'd be crazy not to keep going. But this obviously is very much meant to close like this chapter so far. And there is a lot to wrap up, and there's also a lot to like emotionally satisfy on a character level. And talking to the creative director of the whole franchise, Tetsuya Nomura, he has talked about, both when we spoke to him at E3 and on this trip, he really relates to the villain,
Right.
Xehanort, more so than Sora and those characters. Like, he finds his worldview more interesting, and there's more depth to it, and more like relatable to the real world. And sort of the cynicism that exists in the world. And so knowing that he has that affiliation for that villain, I'm curious to see how that villainous side plays out in this game, because getting to the villain has been so circuitous throughout the franchise.
I mean, going back to sort of highly anticipated games, especially when there are sequels to games that you grew up with, and therefore very sort of contextualized within that period of your life, I think that there needs to be some room where you may just find it pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally, yeah.
Because I mean, I feel that way about the Resident Evil series, which was a series that the primary series that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I'm so hyped for Resident Evil 2, but there might just be a point where I'm just like, that was good.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give myself room for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because otherwise there comes the crushing disappointment.
Yeah. It's one of those things where don't get me wrong, this is easily the most anticipated game for me coming out this year that I know of and everything. But I also am taking it somewhat with a grain of salt of, I'm in a different place in my life. I've had different interests since then. I've liked different types of gameplay too, just in the medium itself. Like I've taken to different types of stories. I still love Disney, but I'm very curious to see if this story is satisfying for me as a fan. And if it's not, that might be okay. If I still, like, those older games aren't worse to me in retrospect for any reason. I still care about them.
Yeah, it won't cancel the memories of the previous games.
Yeah, it's weird. Was there ever a game that has come out for you both? Obviously, you were mentioning Resident Evil 2. Is there a game that has come out that you waited so long for and then it...
I really liked Duke Nukem 3D a whole lot.
Yeah?
Then I played Duke Nukem Forever. That was not good. I like... Good God. Yeah, no, like that was a weird one because I was like, I would like periodically check in on that and be like, oh, it's almost out. It's almost out. All right, they're changing engines. All right, it's gonna come out soon. Like that was announced when I was in, I want to say 8th grade, and that came out when I was like, I went to 2K and demoed it. Like I had a career.
It was 15 years. Is that right?
I think it was 13 years for that.
13.
Yeah.
And
it's over a decade. Yeah.
I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that like Kingdom Hearts 3 is a Duke Nukem Forever system.
I don't either. No,
yeah, I think they've had the same people working on it. They've got a clear vision. But that was like, I mean, that game, like Duke Nukem Forever, like spanned just everything, like consoles, like just culture, like what games were, you know, and that was one of those scenarios where they were sort of nose to the grindstone, being like, oh, we're gonna make it this, we're gonna have this, and then it's like everyone else kind of just lapped them.
Yeah.
I think that like being, I think with Star Wars, for instance, like it's almost like a generational like rite of passage for fans to be pissed off at new Star Wars movies. You know, like the hype around Episode 1 and the prequels, and that was like a sort of a shattering, wrecking thing. And then now we've got new sequels that are making everyone mad, and it's like, I don't know. You get to a point where you're like, well, I just try to maybe focus on the good parts and, you know, work with that. And,
yeah, I'm sure there'll be stuff, no matter what, like even if some aspects of it are disappointing. From what I've seen, I think there will absolutely be some stuff, whether it's the Disney fan service or some of the gameplay, that I'm still going to love, I think. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how that goes. Was there ever another game for you, Lucy, besides?
For me, there hasn't really been a game that I've just been like, oh, I'm just so excited, you know, and then had some sort of a crushing disappointment.
Yeah.
I do find that with remakes, I find that I tend to be disappointed when I play a game again, because it doesn't capture that original, like Final Fantasy VII, for example, which I played when I was very young. You know, play any kind of remake, well, the so-called fabled remake. The remake. You know, we've been waiting for that for a long time, and I just know that it's going to be shattering. I just know that it's not going to be that game that I remember sitting on my parents' couch, you know, eating candy and just like it was my first introduction to sort of that style of you know, JRPG, and it won't live up. But there, I mean, to be honest, like nothing else really. Like I haven't suffered through these long periods of. I mean, there was The Last Guardian, and I loved Shadow of the Colossus, but I was very prepared for The Last Guardian to just be okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like, oh, it's finally out. This kind of, you know, this. It's like an Indiana Jones like orb or something. Like it's fine.
Yeah,
I kind of dodged a bullet on that one because I was never super crazy about like Team Eco stuff, and I was like, oh, this will be the one that I jump into. This is going to be cool. And I went and did a demo of it, and it was just, I don't know, to go to like a preview and be like, oh, it's very pretty, and it seems like they're actually going to release it, but there's stuff wrong with it. Like it's got its problems, you know. And I'm glad it's out there and it exists, because I think there's the most sad thing is when stuff just doesn't come out.
Totally, yeah.
You know?
And it's very nice to actually have Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out, and with its ending, if you're not excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, presumably Nomura is then shifting to the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So whatever mystery of that game will be, we'll hopefully find out in 5 to 8 years. Though speaking of mysteries, the next segment on the show is a mystery to me. Max, take it away.
Jonathan, I follow you on Twitter, and sometimes just give updates about your life, and I found out recently that though you claim to be a true gamer, you only just recently tried
true gamer.
Cheetos for the first time.
Not all Cheetos.
Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Which I want to say for the record, I don't think those are specifically a gamer snack. I think that they are, the Doritos are the more commonly accepted. However, there is one thing that is accepted as a gamer thing, which is Mountain Dew.
Oh.
And you said you've never had a Mountain Dew.
I have not.
So
Oh my
So we're having Mountain Dew.
You're going to try Mountain Dew for the first time.
Oh,
Again,
boy.
you've never had Mountain Dew.
I have never, to my
How long
knowledge.
have you been carrying that in your pocket?
12 days.
A while. It's a very insulated jacket, though, so it's still
Yeah.
cold.
No,
Yeah.
it's still pretty fresh.
So-
yeah.
Okay, wait,
only-
before you
of
start.
course.
What do you think Mountain Dew is going to taste like?
Yeah.
Green?
Like lime?
Yeah, like I always imagined
fake lime.
like Sprite with an edge
That's not wrong.
is how I
I
imagined
would say
it.
it's got kind of an extreme musk.
Okay. How many sugar? All right.
lot of
Sugars.
it.
Yeah, there's a lot of sugar and
Most.
carbs
It kind
in
of tastes like a teenage boy could have sweated it out for sure.
there. Oh, cool. Cool.
As a teenage boy, I sweated out much Mountain Dew.
You were in the facilities bottling the Mountain Dew.
You could say that, I guess.
So yeah, I will try this for the
All
first
right.
time. Only 170 calories.
This
Okay.
isn't sponsored or anything.
No, this is
I
not
just feel
sponsored by
this
Mountain
is
Dew.
relevant to our audience.
You have a Mountain Dew tattoo,
Yeah, man.
so
I got
it's
all
sponsored
sorts
by
of
your arm.
tattoos. Yeah, I got a Mountain Dew tattoo. Weirdly enough, never been in any like sponsored Mountain Dew stuff.
One day.
I think they're like, that guy's weird. Stay away from him. He will damage our brand.
We're giving them free sponsorship with Mountain Dew. So I'm going to try this and see how this goes. How much do you want me to drink?
I don't know. I just have a little bit. Don't chug the whole thing. One does not chug Mountain Dew. You slam it.
That's not bad.
No, it's not.
I mean,
That's
it's not
It's-
terrible.
why they've been making it for like 70 years.
It's better than I thought it would be. I was honestly expecting like bull urine, like the Red Bull
No.
thing.
No.
It's weird because it was sort of a precursor to energy drinks. So
Yeah.
it was the most caffeinated. I think actually Dr. Pepper might have it beat, but it's definitely
okay.
got that like, it's got that extreme thing. The extreme thing was introduced in 1995 when Mountain Dew sponsored the first X Games. And prior
Oh.
to that, their whole aesthetic was very much about like hillbillies. Mountain Dew is actually slang for moonshine. And the earliest Mountain Dew was made as a whiskey mixer.
Wish it still was.
It can still be a whiskey mixer anytime. But yeah, throughout the 70s and 80s, the mascot for Mountain Dew was a cartoon hillbilly. And they had this running thing where people would just have their shoes off doing ordinary stuff. They'd be walking around New York City with their shoes off in a suit and be like, oh, you've got a little hillbilly in you. Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, considering how much X Games I watched as a kid, that's very odd that I have never had this before. It's
Yeah.
pretty good though. I'm
You're
actually
going
going to
back
finish
for
this.
a
Oh yeah, I'm
second.
going to finish
Alright.
this.
Yeah. Well, if you like that, there's all sorts of other different flavors. They literally made a brown one because they mixed the red, white, and blue ones together. That one's called Dew SA.
Is it really?
Yeah, we are living in a timeline
Oh,
that's
wow.
beyond parody.
Beyond. Thank
Yeah,
you.
beyond.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this. I appreciate
welcome.
this. This is
Yeah.
a new
They
experience
sell
for
them
me.
at all
I'm
sorts
loving
of
this. Yeah.
machines and kiosks around the earth.
Do they cost a lot of money?
Not really.
No?
I don't know. We got 25-cent ones here.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm
They
going to
have a
buy
different
these.
recipe in Germany, though. Be careful.
Oh, I'll never go there. That's fine.
Yeah, don't do that.
Before we end the show, thank you, Max, for this. I really appreciate
don't have to
this
thank
new
me for
experience.
soda.
No, thank you so much. This has been quite a joyous, momentous day in my life. Before we end the show, I want to do a trophy test with you both.
AKA the test that I always lose.
We'll see about this. This is a Resident Evil trophy test.
I'm still going to lose.
We'll see. I'm pulling.
And do you want?
I want this.
Okay, you can.
We're actually going to go one by one, but I appreciate the writing down of answers so I can double check. I pulled 4 trophies from Resident Evil 7 and then 2 from Resident Evil 1 because a lot of trophies in this franchise are really hard to make parodies of without it being very obvious.
Okay.
So we'll see how this goes. So we have 6 trophies for you to go through. Again, I will give you, if you're just seeing trophy tests for the first time, I will give you 2 trophies. One is real, one is fake. I'm asking you to tell me what the real trophy is. So we'll start with Resident Evil 7, the first trophy possibility. Number 1, he's here, there, everywhere. That trophy is to destroy all Mr. Everywhere statuettes in Resident Evil 7. The other option, B, I've been everywhere, man. Carry a Mr. Everywhere statue to every room in the Baker house. So again, he's here, there, everywhere. Destroy all Mr. Everywhere statuettes. Or I've been everywhere, man. Carry a Mr. Everywhere statuette to every room in the Baker house. Which of those is real? Lucy?
A.
You say A is real? And Max?
I said A as well. The second one sounds too much like that Half-Life achievement.
You're both correct. He's here, there, everywhere is the correct one.
Yeah.
These were actually very hard to come up with, so it's possible you'll get 6 for 6, both of you.
Don't say that. Don't jinx it.
I believe in you. Number 2, out before dessert. Complete the happy birthday videotape within 5 minutes. Or make a wish. Find a way to blow out the cake's candles in the happy birthday videotape. Which of those is the real
Oh, that's
trophy?
good because
So they're both about the happy birthday videotape. Number 1, out before dessert, complete it within 5 minutes. Number 2, make a wish, find a way to blow out the cake's candles in the happy birthday videotape. Which of those is real? Lucy.
I mean, both of them could be feasibly real.
Okay.
B.
You say B is real. Max, what do you
say? B as well.
A is the real one, out before dessert. Complete the happy birthday videotape within 5 minutes. Sorry, you both do not get that one.
I thought you said you were a Resident Evil fan.
Shut up.
The next one. Hell yeah, science. Craft 30 items using chem fluid. And the other option, that's a spicy meatball. Kill an enemy by attaching a remote bomb to them and detonating it. Which of those is the real one? Hell yeah, science. Craft 30 items using chem fluid. Or that's a spicy meatball. Kill an enemy by attaching a remote bomb to them and detonating it. Lucy, which do you think is real? If you need a second, I can go to Max.
Go to Max.
Max.
I said A.
You say A is real.
Yes.
I also wrote down A.
You're both wrong. That's a spicy meatball is the correct one.
I thought I saw you smirking when you said that's a spicy meatball, and I thought you'd made it up.
I think it's a very silly one. Moving on. Which of these is the real one? ////. I hate saying that. Clear insects off a door using a knife. Or it's getting hot in here. Clear insects off a door using fire. This is from Resident Evil 7. So again, either ////. That would be really bad if I had braces on. Clear insects off a door using a knife, or it's getting hot in here. Clear insects off a door using fire. Which do you think is the real one, Lucy?
B.
Max.
B.
The correct answer is A ////.
Damn it.
I'm sorry.
No.
I know, it's a terrible name. I hated it. But that's the real trophy.
But I remember clearing insects off the door with the flamethrower, I thought.
That's why I included it.
Fake memory.
I will double check because maybe I wrote these over the weekend and forgot that one. But
I mean, I'm sure you can clear insects off the door using both methods.
I
It's
also-
just that first one sounds so made up.
I just don't think I would use the name ////. I don't think I would come up with that, which is where I'm going with. But anyway, moving on.
This is a thrill for me because I quit playing that game because it was too scary. And I'm finding out all these things that are in there that are definitely too scary. And I'm glad I did not continue.
It is, yeah, I believe it is ////. I am sorry. I'm going to move on. I'll double check that in a second. But moving on, these are Resident Evil 1 trophies. Which of these is real? Master of Unlocking, which is unlock every door in the mansion, or the Key Master, obtain the helmet key using Jill. Which of those is the real trophy?
A.
It has to be A.
The correct answer is the Key Master. I know, right?
Lord!
They missed the reference in the trophies, and I was very upset with that. So, unfortunately,
I'm
we both did not
angry.
get that one. Yeah. At me or the games?
Who do we talk to about that? That's horse apples.
Those old trophies, probably. Whoever's making Resident Evil 2 trophies, double check with them. Moving on to the final one. It is a tied game. Score is 1-1.
Oh, what?
So one of you better get this one right. A Jill sandwich caused 3 zombies to collide with one another. Or break out the marshmallows. Burn up 2 zombies at the same time with a lighter. Which of those is the real one?
I'm going to play the game and say B.
Is the real one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually just preemptively marked this one wrong.
Either way.
I'm going to say B.
Crap. You're both correct, which is a tie. And I honestly have not expected a tie. And I don't know how to solve this.
We'll just have to have a rematch later.
We'll do a Resident Evil specific trophy test rematch. I'll come out
Yes.
with another few, and that'll decide who won this one. So for now, it's a draw. But thank you both for playing this insane game.
Thank you.
We didn't have a choice.
That's fair. That's
You
true.
made us.
Yeah.
I did. You could have walked off the set, but thank you for not doing that, as we can now finally end episode 574 of Beyond. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Before we leave, Lucy, where can people find you when you're not on this show?
Luce O'Brien on Twitter and on Instagram.
And Max, what about you?
I am the same, but my name is Max Scoville, which is different from Lucy's name.
That is correct. Good on you for getting that one right. And my name is at JM Dorbush on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me there for updates about my flamin' hot lifestyle. Thank you all so much again for watching this episode of Beyond. And as always, Beyond.
Beyond.
Beyond.